Today we are heading in from the cabin and we're going to shoot over to Pigeon Forge for a bit. And I guess we're going to kind of kill two birds with one stone today, because you see, we are hungry and we want to go get some food. So we're going to go to a restaurant over in Pigeon Forge to get some lunch. And it just so happens that where we're going, it was the site of a brutal murder in 2020. So today we're going to go get a bite, and I'm going to tell the story of what happened to 19-year-old Savannah Burford. As you're driving down the main road in Pigeon Forge here, you can't help but to notice this bright and shiny stainless steel building here. This is the Sunliner Diner, and they have only a couple of these buildings in the world. In fact, the other ones are down in Gulf Shores, Alabama. All of the Sunliner Diner locations, they all look the same. The stainless steel building and the cars out front. You can't miss them because the sun shines off of them, and you know, it's odd to see a stainless steel building these days. It kind of sends you back in time to the sock hop days when the girls wore poodle dresses and the men wore leather jackets. But back in 2020, an incident went down right here at this Pigeon Forge location that took the life of a girl who was fresh out of high school. Of course, the helicopter decides to go over the top of us right now. 19-year-old Savannah Burford and her family, Savannah was the youngest of 7 siblings, they all moved here to the area from Michigan in November of 2019. Just before the pandemic got started. They came here on a family vacation prior to that, and they loved the area so much that right after Savannah graduated, they started making plans to move here. Now, shortly after arriving here in Pigeon Forge, Savannah went in and applied inside of the Sunliner Diner, and she got hired. She was hired on as a waitress, and she worked many nights right here inside of this building. If you ask anyone who ever met or who knew Savannah, they would tell you that she was one of the nicest people you would ever meet. They would tell you that she was very shy and she was very sweet, but once she got to know you, she would open up to you and she would brighten your day just by talking to you. Now, Savannah, she was just your typical teenage girl. She was bubbly and she liked to just do typical girl stuff. And she loved to sing. She wanted to be a singer when she grew up, which is part of the reason why they moved here to Gatlinburg, hoping that maybe she could get a job at one of the shows and she could showcase her singing talent.
Just stop your crying, it's a sign of the times. Welcome to the final show. Hope you're wearing your best clothes. You can't bribe the door on your way to the sky. You look pretty good down here, but you ain't really good.
Because of all the reasons I told you already, Savannah was very well liked. She got along with everyone, and she treated everyone like they were her best friend. Because Savannah was this way, it troubled her family when they would go to pick her up from work, and she would point out this guy that worked there with her, and she would tell them that he kept giving her a hard time and he kept picking on her. And this went on for a little while. Savannah and her family, they just thought that, she should try to avoid this guy and eventually it would go away, but it didn't. It only escalated. It wasn't long after Savannah confided in her family about this coworker bothering her that she confided in them again that now this guy is trying to stalk her, and that he had followed them home one night, he said, without them even knowing about it, and that he had gone to the managers inside of the diner, and he tried to get their schedules synced up, and he was doing all this at the same time as she went to the managers, and she was trying to get the managers to put them on opposite shifts. And as she's telling her mother all of this information, her mother, Julia Cutter, she could tell that her daughter was frightened here by this guy, and she didn't really know what to do. She had hoped that the managers would do something about it, but other than that, she honestly had no clue as to what to do. Despite Savannah going to the managers and telling them that they needed to put her and this other co-worker on separate shifts, for whatever reason, they didn't do it. Savannah continued to be bothered by this guy, and it got so worrisome to them that Savannah and her mom, they sat down and started trying to figure out what they could do to make this stop. So they come up with a solution that they're going to go to him and talk. And they're also going to go to the managers again and talk to them. And then if none of that works, they're going to go to the police. But sadly, before they could follow through with their plans to do this, Savannah's coworker decided to act on his plans. And it would be too late for Savannah or her family to do anything. On January the 8th of 2020, Savannah, she was on the schedule to work. Unbeknownst to Savannah, this problem coworker, he was not on the schedule to work, but he had switched his schedule with someone to come in. So she thought she was going and she wasn't going to have to deal with him. And then she got there and she started working, and she started waiting on tables, and she was having fun with her friends, and she even managed to take a few pictures with a friendly coworker who was her friend there. And then as the afternoon turned into evening, Savannah was caught off guard when she looks up and she sees this coworker, her stalker, coming into work. Savannah's night quickly turned from being a great day to a bad one, and she got real anxious. The stalker guy, he tried talking to her several times, but Savannah just did as her mom told her, and she ignored him, and she tried to avoid him at all costs. As the clock struck 8 p.m., Savannah started to feel a little bit of relief. There was only like a half hour left before she got to leave, and she had successfully managed to avoid him the whole night. At 8:30 p.m., Savannah's mom pulls into the parking lot here of the Sunliner Diner, and she texted her saying, "Here," just those 4 letters, "here," letting Savannah know that she was outside. And Savannah responds, "Okay." Now, Savannah in her head, she's thinking all she has to do is get from the back door to her mom's car, and she will be scot-free of this stalker that night. 10 minutes later, at 8:40 p.m., Savannah clocks out, and she starts heading towards the back door. Once she gets out of the door, she sees her mom sitting in the car, and her mom sees her. Her mom watches as she takes a couple of steps away from the back door, and then all of a sudden, this stalker coworker comes out of nowhere and stops her. To Savannah's mom, it just looks like they're talking, so she's thinking maybe Savannah's saying, leave me alone, or this, that, the other. So Savannah's mom goes to start getting out of her car because she's going to walk over there too to say something to this guy, when all of a sudden the male takes off running, and she cuts her eyes back to Savannah, and Savannah's falling to the ground. Julie Cutter, Savannah's mom, she runs over to her daughter, not knowing exactly what's happened. She couldn't see anything because the guy was standing between her and her daughter. She just sees Savannah is on the ground, and it wasn't until she got to her that she realized that Savannah was bleeding profusely. Julie immediately tried to, she took her jacket off, and she tried to cover the wounds to stop them from bleeding, and she started screaming for somebody to call 911, but it was too late. Savannah Burford had been stabbed with a knife more than 20 times, and she died right here, right outside of the Sunliner Diner building, in her mother's arms. Her mother saw her child murdered right in front of her, and she died as she held her. Can you even imagine watching your child be murdered right in front of you? I would be totally distraught, and I don't think I would know how to keep going. I mean, that would be just like the worst thing that a parent could ever go through. And on top of that, Savannah's mom said that while she was laying there holding her, she could tell that Savannah was trying to tell her something, but there was so much blood that was like gurgling out of her mouth. She just couldn't get it out. Can you even imagine? That's just horrible. It would turn out that those pictures she had taken with her friend, they were the last pictures she ever took, and they were taken within minutes of this co-worker killing Savannah Burford. Because of the events that took place in the months prior to Savannah's death, Julie, she knew who the killer was. She knew his name, she knew what he looked like, and as the police arrived on scene, she was able to tell them his name and what he looked like. And the Pigeon Forge Police Department, they immediately hit the road and go out looking for him. They spotted Savannah's killer, who was identified as Gabe Tercius. He was walking down the road just a couple of blocks away from the diner where he had killed Savannah. Now, Gabe was immediately arrested and charged with first-degree murder and aggravated assault. And according to the arrest affidavit, police, they did recover surveillance footage and the eyewitness reports showing all this happened. They also said in that affidavit that when they went to Tercius with the evidence, that he confessed, and that he even told them that he had been thinking about doing this for some time. He didn't really give any other motive, or at least the police haven't said what that motive was yet, because this has not gone to trial yet. Gabe Tercius, well, he just had a preliminary trial a couple weeks back now, like on March the 6th, I think, and that means his actual trial should be coming up here in just a couple of months. So I'm going to come back and I will revisit this story again, and I'll update you once he goes to trial and is found guilty or not guilty and is sentenced for Savannah's murder. I don't have an exact date when that trial will be, but as soon as it happens, I will come back and let you know. Now, since the murder, Savannah's mother, she has filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Tercius and his family, and they are also going after the Sunliner Diner's parent company, Hangout Hospitality, for failing to take Savannah's claims seriously and for failing to keep Savannah safe and not separating her from her stalker when she told them about it. But, you know, all this is all new. It's all fresh. But like I said, I will have to come back and I'll have to update you when this case goes to trial. It's a tragic, tragic event. People loved Savannah Burford, and Lord only knows why this guy did this, why he destroyed her. Now, Savannah's mom, they had a funeral service for her, and she was cremated. Savannah always said from the time that they came on vacation here that she wanted to live there in the Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg area, in the mountains. And so Savannah's mom and them, they still live there to this day. And she's vowed to stay there as absolutely long as she can, because that's what Savannah wanted. That is going to do it for this episode today, and the murder of Savannah Burford at the Sunliner Diner in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. I want to thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you're new here, go down and hit that subscribe button, then hit that notification bell so you get notified every time I upload a video. We've got one more left from here in the Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg area before we got to head home, unfortunately. So that'll be coming up tomorrow or the next day. You know, if you're interested in supporting the channel, you can check out the links in the description box below. That's always helpful. But pretty much, you know, you guys, thank you. I can't thank you enough. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Please, all of you, stay safe and stay healthy. Much love to you all.